Huge, world-changing ideas, they don't just pop up out of thin air. They're almost always a response to a world that is desperate for a new way of seeing things. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most powerful examples of this ever, the birth of Buddhism. Okay, so let's really get into this. We're going to look at the birth of Buddhism, not just as some historical event, but as a fascinating look at how a radical new idea can take off when the timing is just perfect. So, what was going on? What was in the air that allowed this one philosophy to take hold and spread across the entire globe? Well, to get that answer, we've got to go way back to 6th century BCE North India. And you need to picture this. This was not some sleeple, quiet place. No, this was a society right in the middle of a massive, kind of chaotic transformation. Politically, economically, the whole shebang. This was the messy but super fertile ground where new ideas could really grow. So, for ages, right, you had the Brahmin priests at the top of the food chain. They had the authority, the status, everything. But as you can see here, things were changing. A huge power shift was happening. Their top dog status was being seriously challenged by this other group, the Kshatriyas, the warriors and the rulers. They were gaining power, becoming the new leaders, and this created a massive crack in the old way of doing things. And what's fueling all this political drama? Well, it's a full-blown economic revolution. You've got this powerful new merchant class popping up, known as the Sethi. And these guys were building incredible wealth, not from farming, but from trade. And we're not talking about simple bartering here. A real market economy was being born. People were using gold coins, kapanas, for the first time, and goods were moving on new trade routes, using huge ships called nava. This created a kind of wealth and social mobility nobody had ever seen before. Okay, so you've got political upheaval, you've got this economic explosion. What comes next? Well, you get a crisis of faith. All the old rules, the ancient rituals, the established philosophies, they just didn't really fit this new, fast-paced, complicated world. The traditional answers just started to feel, well, empty. So put yourself in their shoes. If you're a thinking person back then, you're looking for the right way to live, and you're left with this awful choice. The big philosophies of the day basically gave you two options, and honestly, neither one looked very good. All right, so on one side, you had your traditional religion. It taught that your soul is eternal and the goal is to free it from your body, usually through really painful practices and never-ending rituals. Then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you had the materialists. Their argument was simple. The soul dies when you do, so morality is pointless. The only logical thing to do is just enjoy yourself as much as you can. So one path offered pain and the other offered meaninglessness. Tough choice, right? So the time was absolutely ripe for someone to come along and find a third way. And this whole societal crisis, it's perfectly mirrored in the story of one young man whose personal quest was about to change everything. He was absolutely determined to find a path that wasn't just pain or pleasure. Let's take the story of Yasa. He was the son of one of those super rich Sethis merchants we were talking about. He represents that first extreme, the life of pure, non-stop pleasure. I mean, this guy was living a life of unbelievable luxury. He had 3 different mansions, one for each season, and was surrounded by entertainment 24/7. He had everything that materialist philosophy said should make a person happy. But then, something clicks. He wakes up early one morning, he looks around, and sees his entertainers just passed out all around him. A total mess. And in that one instant, his entire life of pleasures suddenly looked grotesque and hollow. The text says the whole scene just appeared to him like a cemetery before his eyes. He realized right then and there that this path was a complete dead end, so he just walked away from it all. So, what does he do? After walking away from all that pleasure, he does what a lot of spiritual seekers did back then. He swings to the complete opposite extreme. He dives into asceticism, starving himself, pushing his body to the absolute limit of pain. This was the other option available. But you know what? After years of this, he realized it was just another dead end. All it brought him was exhaustion, not wisdom. And this is the light bulb moment. After he's personally tried both extremes, total indulgence and total self-denial, and found both of them lacking, he discovers a third option. And it's not some bland compromise. It's a totally revolutionary new way forward, a balanced middle path. So what is this middle path? Well, it was the perfect, elegant solution to the biggest problem of the era. It was this groundbreaking idea that the way to true wisdom isn't about chasing pleasure or punishing yourself, but about finding a calm, clear, focused balance right between them. It was a path that promised real understanding and, finally, peace. And the cool thing is, this wasn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. It was a super practical, structured system, the Noble Eightfold Path. It's all broken down into three main parts. First up, you've got wisdom. That's all about developing the right perspective and the right intentions. Then there's ethical conduct, which is basically how you behave in the world, your speech, your actions, your job. And finally, mental discipline, which is about training your mind through focus and mindfulness. See? A complete roadmap for how to live. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together now. This profound, incredible idea didn't win out just because it was smart. It succeeded because it showed up at the exact right moment in history. It was the perfect answer to the questions that everybody was asking. So what was the secret sauce? Why did it catch on? First, you had a brand new audience of smart, rational people. They called them the Vanyupurisa, or wise men, and they were sick of old superstitions. Second, the new Kshatriya rulers. They actually encouraged free thinking and open debate. And third, you had that wealthy Sati class. They had the money and the interest to bankroll these new thinkers. All these things came together to create the perfect incubator for this idea to just explode. And that really brings us back to today, doesn't it? We just saw how this perfect storm of political, economic, and intellectual change created the space for an idea like Buddhism to emerge. So the big question for us is, when you look at all the massive disruptions happening in our world right now, with technology, politics, culture, what new crises are we facing? And maybe more importantly, what kinds of ideas are just starting to bubble up right now, getting ready to change our world?